if you've struggled before, because that version of you is what you want so bad, whatever it includes, because you want it and it's that important, it makes it easier for those habits to stick. Well, hey there, welcome to an episode of The Pursuit. I mentioned a few weeks back that The Pursuit was going to be more of an in-between episode, in between the every couple weeks of On Our Pursuit, the Monday motivational episodes. And as I think about when I should do these and when I shouldn't, I'm reminded of a quote that a friend of mine told me. It's not a quote, he told me this. He said, to be mindful of your email list inbox, meaning don't send emails just to send them. In the past, on the Weekly Pursuit, sometimes I would send an email saying, hey, I'm behind schedule, and that was just taking up space in people's inboxes. So be mindful and be respectful of the inbox. And I want to be mindful and respectful of your podcast list as well. So I'm only doing these episodes when I have something that I think is really important to share. And this week I have a couple things I want to tie together. Before we get to that, though, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. First and foremost, I just want to make sure everybody is aware that the Weekly Pursuit, the weekly email that goes out, the first 250 subscribers, I think we're around 85 or so right now, are going to get a Pursuit NFT. It looks like this. And that NFT is worthless outside of Pursuit. I don't want it to be a security or anything along those lines, but what I want this NFT and the future NFTs to become are your tickets to special events. So for instance, on December 15th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, we are collaborating with Yogi Athletes, the founder, Amir Madison. He's going to lead us through a guided meditation, 15-20 minutes of a guided meditation. The only way to have access to that is going to be through the Weekly Pursuit. Now, right now, you don't need the NFT because it's a new program, but eventually, part of registration for events like that, special content, maybe even special gear, you will have to have an NFT. And the NFT will have different rankings. So, for instance, the first 3 individuals that went through the collective have a collective NFT. And that NFT will be one of the highest that will get them into anything that may happen within Pursuit. The email one, the OG email one, will be pretty powerful as well because that means you were here from day one. But as we go on and introduce different NFTs, which just basically be different designs, we will use that as a way to check whether or not you should have access to certain events. So we kind of want to create a reward system, if you will, and reward those who have been deeper into their pursuit, supporting the brand, really into it, versus somebody on the outside who might just be watching. We want everybody to be included, but we also want to create unique events for those that are really committed to their pursuit and really committed to the Pursuit brand. So if you're not subscribed, every weekend I send out an email, a little bit of my content, a little bit of others' content, but just designed to give you a little bit to think about over the weekend as you keep on going with your pursuit. Head on over to pursuit.co, that's PRST.co, and at the bottom there'll be a pop-up. You can sign up there, you'll start getting it, and then we're working on getting everybody's wallet addresses, if they have one, to send them the NFTs. So again, the first 250 get the OG Weekly Pursuit NFT. Once those are gone, there'll be no more, and we'll move on to the next one. So that was housekeeping item number 1. Number 2, you see this bright orange hoodie. There's no way to miss it. On the back, it says, Creator's Gonna Create. This is one of the new hoodies that are available in the shop. So Pursuit.co, the shop up top, we had our fall drop that went out. The newsletter folks had first access to it. They gobbled up a lot. There's a little bit left over still. So if you're interested in some high quality, I love them, heavyweight. This one's a little bit more of a midweight, and it's printed. The other ones are heavyweight sweatshirts, embroidered, Pursuit logo, embroidered to keep pursuing across the front, and then a couple t-shirts and some hats we've had in the past. Head on over to the shop at prst.co/shop. Get something, support the brand, but more importantly, support yourself. This is a way for you to express yourself and allow people that you are on a pursuit to live the life that you want, and you are not being boxed in by other people. And then the final one is just want to remind you again, December 15th, a guided meditation led by my friend Amir Madison, co-founder, CEO of Yogi Athlete, which is a pretty cool brand. I take their yoga classes at home, and excited to have him lead us through a meditation, which will hopefully become something we do regularly as a collaborative effort between the two of us. All right, so that's enough housekeeping. Thank you for staying with me. If you guys stay with Tim Ferriss's 20 minutes of advertisements from other brands, surely you can stay with me for a few minutes there. So this week's episode and why I wanted to bring with it is centered around habits. And this morning, before I did my meditation, there was a quote that popped up, and I love the Open app. If you're looking for a good meditation app, breathwork app, the Open app is phenomenal. And the quote says, once you understand that habits can change, you have the freedom and the responsibility to remake them. And habits are a really important thing. A lot of people talk about them. James Clear has a great book, Atomic Habits. I have to be fully fair and disclose that I have not finished the book. I had him on my All About Your Benjamins podcast. And when I read the book, I just wasn't ready to really dive in on the habits. I have habits. I will be honest that I'm not the greatest about staying with new habits, but I think that's because my mindset and the way I've always approached them in the past hasn't been right. So it was easy for me to deviate away from a new habit that I was trying to form. And I know Atomic Habits was supposed to help you figure out how to do that. But at the end of the day, when I was reading that book and my view on life and the way I was handling things, I just wasn't ready. I'll probably go back and reread it and see if it resonates more, but I do have a new way of thinking about habits that does resonate with me that I wanted to share with you. And the first thing is what made it easier for me to be focused on my habits was having a clear understanding of my why or my where I'm going. Your habits around family have been easy because that's an easy why, but when I look at professionally and everywhere else on my pursuit, I think part of the reason I struggled with habits was I wasn't sure. I was still finding out where I was going to be going. Now, I knew that I was going to be a financial advisor. I knew that I had my firm, but I knew that there was more that I wanted to do, and that's why there were 7 years looking back of just experimentation of these side projects and things along the way. But now with pursuit and this vision that I have and this clear vision that I have and a very specific thing that I'm building towards that I will not be talking about. As hard as it is for me to build in quiet, I have something that's so important that just know there's a vision that has allowed me to be very clear about my why, which has allowed me to be very clear about where I'm spending my energy. On a recent weekly pursuit, I wrote about either it's a hell yes or a no. Shout out to my friend Adam Schmela. I know he took it from somewhere else, but he was the first person that told me that years ago. I didn't necessarily follow through with it then, but again, I didn't have that thing that was so important that I could say hell yes or no. It was, yes, I have important things, but I want to explore some more. But having a hell yes, pursuit, and the balance of RLS Wealth, pursuit, and AGC, and my family life, having that and where pursuit is going is the thing that allows me to say it's either a hell yes or a no. And then from that point, I can back into the habits. So having a clear why, I think, is a very important thing that will help you stick with the habit forming that you're trying to work on. The other part that really resonated with me that hopefully might connect with you is that part of the reason I deviated from my habits was I was looking at going towards something. You go back to some past episodes, and I talked about that record player that my friend Derek Grant shared with me. Basically, that all versions of ourself already exist in this plane, and that it's like a record player. You just pick the needle up and drop yourself out at that version of yourself. And when you drop that needle, it will take time for the physical world to catch up, but mentally, emotionally, you're putting yourself there, and you are embodying that version of yourself. So remember, act as if versus embody. Act as if is more of superficial, surface level. Embodying that future self is more internal. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the way you think. It's the way you move. That's different. So if you think about habits and you're placing yourself out there, think about the habits that version of yourself would be doing at that time. So for me, I always go to the weight loss thing because it's an easy one for a lot of people. If I want to be 10 pounds lighter, which I am 20 pounds lighter than earlier this year, so this works for me, what are the habits of that version of myself? When am I getting up? When am I going to bed? How am I eating? What's my exercise look like? All of those things. What are those habits? And then start to do those habits today. And for whatever reason, for me, that works better than if I do these things, then I will become 10 pounds lighter. I, for whatever reason, have to work from, I'm already 10 pounds lighter, I got to wait for the world to catch up. Here's the things that I'm doing as that individual, and I'm going to do those now. It's the exact same thing. It's just a different way to look at it, and sometimes you just need to shift your perspective on something for it to click. And there's the click. That clicked for me. So when you're thinking about forming habits, try to think about not what habits will get me there. It's I'm already there. What habits am I doing? Same thing, just different perspective. It might resonate better with you, which will allow you to stick with it. So if I think about the weight loss, the 20 pounds that I've lost since February, part of it was dropping a lot of professional stuff and having less stress in my life. But it was getting into a routine of workout that now has become a habit. So getting up every morning around 5:15, you don't have to do these things, but this is what my routine looks like. I get up, I do 3 rounds of the Wim Hof breathing app, and then I go into a 20-minute meditation. Then I go into usually a Peloton ride, 20 minutes or so, and maybe a 20-minute tonal workout. So that way, every morning I've got my meditation, my breath work, and some exercise done. And I bought an Apple Watch. For a long time I had one, I didn't like it. And I have my goals. So I do try to close those circles out every single day. That gets me a great start. If I only do that and life gets in the way and I don't get my other workouts in, then I'm pretty close to being able to hit my goals just through normal living. 4 days a week, after I get the boys ready, drop off Roman at school, our family morning routine, I'll go to hot yoga. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday is my goal to do hot yoga at 9:30. And then that definitely sets me over on my workout goal. So I've already got a lot of my goal accomplished early in the way. Those habits were what I was doing in the future. They have been done, and now they have become part of my routine. And I actually crave that morning routine now because it makes me feel so good. It gets me off to a good start. I feel more energized despite getting up earlier. I'm more productive throughout the day. My creativity is higher. I just feel like I am in a better zone. I'm a better version of myself when I do that routine. The yoga feeds into that as well. And then I still like to do some weights. So maybe I'll do an extra tonal workout in the evening, or I'll go over in the other side of the basement and do some weights and squats and things of that sort. But those habits came from that future version of myself. I started doing them because that's what I was doing out there, so I should be doing them today. And then they formed out a routine. So I would encourage you to think about, where are you going? Whether it is a physical goal, it is a spiritual goal, it's a professional goal. Think about where you're going and that version of yourself that you want to be. Embody that today. What are the habits? What does that life look like? And do that today. And I think if you've struggled before, because that version of you is what you want so bad, whatever it includes, because you want it and it's that important, it makes it easier for those habits to stick. At least it did for me. And my goal in this is just to share what works for me or what I've seen work for others. It's just to give you another way to try to figure things out for your pursuit. Going back to that quote, now that we know that we can control our habits, that gives us a lot of freedom. So if there's not something that we like about our life or something we want to change, and we know that habits kind of lead towards the outcomes, then we have the ability to go change our habits to help us change our outcome and get where we want to go. So the days of complaining about not being happy about where we're at or whatever it might be, we have control over that because we just need to go back and revisit our habits that are leading us to where we're not happy. What are the habits we need to implement to get happy? And then we can change it. And yes, changing habits is not as easy as just doing it, but it's also not as hard as it once was now that we have this new angle to go at it. So that was what I wanted to talk about today. I think when you're on your pursuit, thinking of the habits that are going to lead you to where you want to go, and then changing those habits as they need to be changed, whether it be you hit that level that you want to be at, now it's time to go somewhere else, or because your pursuit led you down a different path, you need to change your habits to go down a different path. It all comes back to your habits. Big habits, little habits, all the way along. But I think that is a very important part of your pursuit that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about. I don't have anything to give you as far as like a worksheet or anything along those lines to help you write down your habits or review your habits, but just sit down with a piece of paper and write what are the things that you do regularly, what are the habits that you have, good and bad, what are the habits that you need to be doing for the future version of yourself, and then start to make changes and start to implement better. I do remember in James Clear's book, he talks about 1% better every day. Now, it's probably not possible to get 1% better every single day, and the compounding impact on that is huge. But the point of it is you don't have to go from 0 to 100 right away. Just make incremental changes in your habits. So if your goal is to get up 30 minutes earlier to do these things and you struggle, what if you got up 1 minute earlier every day for a week? And then the next week you got up 1 minute earlier. And then you can go 2 minutes and you slowly start to do it. And before long, you're up 30 minutes earlier, and it was a much easier change because you eased into it rather than going straight from 0 to 100. Sometimes that works, sometimes it's different. You doesn't. You know yourself best. So you have to conform and change in the way that aligns with who you are and how you operate. And that's one thing I think over time I've learned is that what works for one person doesn't always work for another. So while somebody might approach growth or might approach their life one way and it works and it makes sense, if that doesn't align with who I am, I can't change me. I can only embrace who I am and then work with that. So 0 to 100 a lot of times doesn't work for me. It's got to be incremental changes. I know people who can go from 0 to 100 when it comes to that change. That's great for them, but for me it doesn't work. So maybe give it a try, and if you keep on struggling with it, then try a different approach. Don't give up on the change. Make a change of the way you're doing it. All right, so let me check my notes real quick. That is everything I wanted to hit on in this episode. So again, habits. They're basically the beginning of everything that we do. Look at the habits you have. If you're not where you're heading, where you want to go, what habits can you change? How do you need to change them? And what's the best way for you to change them? If you're not sure what habits you need to have, then dial into that future version of yourself. Where are you going? Understand that. Give yourself a why that is so important. You're willing to commit to making some of these changes. And when you have something that's important, it's easier for you to stick with it. And I am an example of that. So if you need proof, I am that proof. I am 20 pounds lighter than I was back in February. The reason for that is I had the realization that it was easier for me to get in good shape today than it would be at 50, at 60, at 70. So yes, I love the results that I'm having right now, and I'm enjoying working out again regularly. But really the reason I'm working out today is so that when I'm 60 and 70, I'm not trying to make up for bad habits and bad behavior when I was 40. It's easier to get in good shape when you're younger. And that was the why for me. That was what made it worth it for me to get up early and prioritize these workouts. I've built my professional life around this morning workout and 9:30 yoga. My client meetings don't start till 11:30. So in between all this stuff, I do some morning work, but now 9:30 is pretty much non-negotiable. I'm not meeting anybody because that is when I need to do yoga. And we've talked about it in the past, and this may be something you have to realize with your habits. Sometimes you have to be selfish. I want to put others first. I'm a people pleaser. My dad is selfless. I have that in me as well. But I finally realized that in order to be my best for you and for my family and for my clients and for the advisors in the AGC, for me to be my best, I had to put myself first in some things. So I have to get that morning routine in. I have to get my yoga. I am better when I do those things, and when I am best, I'm better for everybody else. So also don't take away from yourself when you're building out these habits. All right, I already said I was going to go. You guys know I ramble. That is enough for today. I want to thank you for tuning in. Listenership is going up. Viewership is going up. Subscribers is going up. Thank all of you for that. If you haven't subscribed, I would like to ask you to subscribe. If you've never left a review, I'd love to have you leave a review as well. An honest review, much appreciated. Leave comments. All of that stuff matters, unfortunately, in the message getting out because the algorithms want to see those numbers. So I don't really do it for me. I don't check them too often. But I do want this to get out. I want more people to find this that need to find it. I do believe the universe will bring it to them, but if we can bring it to them a little faster because the numbers go up, that would be great. So if you feel inclined and would love to support, a like, a subscribe, comment would be much appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Weekly Pursuit. There's about 170 so NFTs left to be captured there. Will be more opportunities for NFTs in the future, but I'm really excited about implementing this as a part of Pursuit. And head on over to the shop to grab yourself. I'm not kidding. Some of the best sweatshirts you'll ever have. I'm a snob when it comes to this stuff, which is why I won't drop ship, which is why I want to be a part of the creative process. Right now, I'm bringing in blanks and working with a local printer. One day, we'll manufacture the Pursuit stuff so I can have all the say. But these are heavy sweatshirts. They're not bulky. They fit perfect. The embroidery is beautiful. They're going to last with you forever. I want these Pursuit clothing items to be with you on your whole pursuit. I want them to be things that when you put them on, they put you in a good mood. If you put this sweatshirt on, you're ready to go create because Creator's going to create. I love it because it's bright orange. It's kind of obnoxious. It lets everybody know that, hey, I'm a creator. But when I put it on, I just feel the energy from that bright color and want to go create. So don't forget to head to the shop. All right, appreciate the time. I promise it won't always be advertisements on all these episodes, but it's been a minute, so I wanted to catch you all up. And as always, I want to thank you for joining me on my pursuit. It is an honor to be a part of yours, and let's keep pursuing.